Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
It's here. It's time. There's always a buzz in the air when you hit this moment.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
I think of him as this hawk. Before long, he's going to be swooping in on those quarterbacks.
And they embody what the school is about. It's about getting into hard situations and getting ourselves out. It's about working hard. It's about doing amazing things.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
All right, Richard, let's set the scene. So yesterday, I don't know what time it was, 7? Something like that. I know it's cooking dinner or cleaning dinner. The texts start going left and right on the TexAgs content line. Brendan Sorsby going in the supplemental draft.
That was
And then I felt
unexpected.
a talk show. It was unexpected, but then a talk show happened on our text thread.
Yeah, it was fun. And I know you don't like the TexAgs content group chat to kind of blow up because we use it. It's used only for news. It's used to keep the content crew, the team, in the know on different stories, whether it's A&M related or otherwise. And this has been such a big story that it warranted a lot of conversation from a many number of our staffers.
I don't mind that. I mind when it's Saturday at 2 p.m. and we're talking about people's hair and we're making fun of Luke. That's when I'm like, come on, guys.
Well, we always have to make fun of Luke, and it's easy to make fun of Luke's hair.
Good point. So I think it's unexpected, except I was listening to some national report. I forget who it was, one of the big guys. And it wasn't Josh. It might have been the guy who broke the story. What's his name from ESPN?
Pete Thamel?
Thamel. It might have been Thamel. But basically saying in an earlier hit on SportsCenter that so far, Brendan Sorsby has not taken himself away from Texas Tech. And the word so far to me hit like, technically he can make this less of a firestorm by just saying, you know what? I'm walking away. Sounds like after all the bullets started coming Texas Tech's way, they got together and they realized we've played this poorly, and what's best for not only the program, I just think for the team moving forward. Can you imagine Big 12 Media Days? What that would feel like?
I think you're still going to have to imagine Big 12 Media Days and what it will feel like, because there's going to be a lot of questions when Joey McGuire takes the stand and it's Texas Tech Day. But then, from going to SEC Media Days, there's still barbs thrown different teams' ways from different coaches, whether A&M or LSU or Texas, whoever's even in the building that day. There are going to be a lot of people in that league with plenty to say about Texas Tech, so that's going to be interesting. What I found most shocking, maybe dumbfounding about the entire story yesterday was, I don't know if you read that long tweet Matthew Dawson, smartest man on earth, sent us in the group chat. The big Texas Tech was pretty much had their hands tied by the Texas AG. That was the craziest thing, is that the suit that the Big 12 filed essentially word for word used what the Texas AG had tried to bar them from doing. And it was shocking. It felt to me that Texas Tech was ready to play hardball, but they were bluffing the entire time. The Big 12 immediately called that bluff, and they immediately folded.
See, I don't know if they were bluffing. Maybe they were bluffing somewhat. I don't think they expected for this kind of response, right? Because basically the NCAA loses. That's what they do. They're a bunch of losers when it comes to court cases. And this time, they were the aggressors after a preemptive strike from Texas Tech. Now, here's the question. Who's the winner? Who's the loser? Because I look at Brendan Sorsby, and I don't think he's anything. He's not a winner or a loser in this. He might actually end up kind of winning, although nobody in the country understands how the supplemental draft works.
Fair. I definitely don't understand.
Nobody.
I am part of that population in this country that does not understand how the NFL supplemental draft works.
Let's have Kendall look it up, because they haven't had a supplemental draft since 2019, but he's putting his name in the supplemental draft.
They haven't had like a single supplemental draft
since 2019.
Or they haven't
Fact
had a player of note since 2019.
Check that. I read yesterday they haven't had a supplemental draft pick since 2019.
Before this whole thing became a possibility, didn't know the NFL had a supplemental draft.
Yeah, 5th round of the 2019 draft was a supplemental draft based. It was the Arizona Cardinals pick Jalen Thompson.
Wow.
So, like, again, I shouldn't talk about something we don't know about on the air, but I don't think he loses per se because he gets to keep playing football. Somebody's going to take a chance on him. Somebody's going to take a chance on him at the next level. Obviously, he probably won't play football this year. I don't think he's going to go to a team and like, oh, he's our guy. Like, that's not going to happen in the NFL. I think the winner in all this is the NCAA. I think the second winner in this is the Big 12 because they were united versus Texas Tech. And the loser is Texas Tech. And they're still going to be fine. They have more talent than anybody they're going to play in the Big 12. Will Hammond must be the guy who will probably be their quarterback. He's probably like, did you guys forget that I've actually played a little bit for Texas Tech and I'm actually okay?
I still think it's BYU's year. Don't forget that a lot of people were picking the Cougars to win that league. So,
but I don't think they're going to play though.
They're not going to play each other. But I mean, now without your starting quarterback, Sorsby was the starting quarterback for a reason over Will Hammond, who's again no slouch. Not like he's a walk-on or anything like that. He could still play, but BYU's still the pick there. Or it would definitely now be the pick if Texas Tech's starting quarterback's not available. I agree with you. Brendan Sorsby's not a winner or loser in this. Obviously, loses his eligibility.
His image takes a hit.
I think he becomes a loser if he can't get his gambling issues under control, and that's a problem, right? He's dealing with some personal vices that you hope he gets under control. And then I agree with you. I think Texas Tech's the loser here, in which they can't have the star quarterback play, and also the PR disaster class they went through. I think the big loser here is Cody Campbell in that 3-page memo he sent out in which he basically tried to uphold Texas Tech's honor code, I don't know, in which he definitely didn't. He was acting selfishly the entire time. Everybody knows that. The NCAA and I think college athletics, not just the Big 12, are the big winners here because finally, for the first time in a long time, it feels like adults in the room have prevailed, and we have finally all put our collective heads together and agreed that not everything can be allowed.
But what about the next time it happens? Is there going to be another Texas Tech situation where a program's like, whatever, NCAA, you have no power? Because Brendan Sorsby is not the only person that is gambling in college football.
Surely not ignorant enough to think that.
And probably not the only person who has gambled on his team. And people say, well, he wasn't playing. You know the playbook, you know the game plan, you know a lot of stuff when it comes to your team, when you're gambling on your team. There's a thing called insider trading in the business world. It can happen in the football world as well.
Well, it's the same argument that people used to make for Pete Rose for years. It was like, oh, he bet on the Reds, but he never bet against the Reds. Doesn't matter. It is in the rules. Rule 21, Major League Baseball tells you are not allowed to bet on baseball.
Yep.
For your team, against your team, or another team. Doesn't matter. Same thing should go for all of sports. If you are an active participant inside each of these programs, I'm not saying a stakeholder, right? Donors, they're held to different standards. Sure. They're not on the field of play. While they are somewhat of a stakeholder, they're not inside the program. Those inside the program, not allowed to gamble. That should be common knowledge. It should be common sense.
Yeah, it should. But again, people will just take the NCAA to court. This particular time, it looked like Texas Tech was not willing to fight that war again, or Brendan Sorsby wasn't.
And it seemed like the NCAA had a strong case to get what Dawson described as a conviction.
Yeah.
So the NCAA is willing to go to court. They could use this as precedent moving forward. I hope it's not precedent that if you are caught gambling on your team, you can just get a judge in a local district to give you an injunction and you can still play. I hope the NCAA and the powers that be, whether it be the conferences or opposing programs, are willing to take this to court and as aggressively as possible moving forward.
When you're in the bunker and you see, like you're taking bullets like Texas Tech was, I understand why you want to defend yourself, right? Like oftentimes we all like to defend ourselves as talk show hosts. When people come with strays, people want to defend themselves and they almost overcorrect by saying too much. this should be a case study for programs and people in general. Say less. Just stay out of the conversation, because when you add to the conversation and you try to justify, it only looks worse.
20-minute video from earlier, I guess last week, doesn't look so good anymore.
It didn't look good at the time. It didn't
look good at the time, and now it looks even worse.
Now it's a joke, right?
Well, keep my mouth shut.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how much of a villain Texas Tech still is moving forward. Is the college football public going to move on from this? I think to some degree they'll move on, but I still think they'll be considered the villain for a while.
In this particular instance, right? It's good that the player who should be ineligible is no longer going to play. That's good. That's not going to hurt Texas Tech moving forward. However, where Texas Tech is kind of already established as the villain is that they're willing to pay tons and tons of money to field the best roster possible. I'm a fan of a Major League Baseball team that's doing that.
Yep.
Within rules, Texas Tech's operating within rules. You are the villain to a lot of people, and that's okay. Sports need a good villain. That's where Texas Tech's going to be the villain. I don't know if this is going to continue to play into their image. I'm sure it will for a little bit, but Texas Tech's not going to stop spending money in the pursuit of a championship. That's not going to stop, and that's going to continue to make them a villain in the eyes of a lot of college sports fans moving forward.
So on my morning run this morning, I listened to Coach Elko with Greg McElroy on It's Always College Football. I think it's the name of his show on ESPN. It's a podcast that he puts on there. And Coach Elko laid out a couple things about this upcoming season. One of them was about building the foundation that he's been able to put together. And the way I think Greg phrased it was you come in here and you guys have instant success. Not the type of success that we want to have, but that first year was a successful season considering where the program was the year before. Last season obviously feels not as good the way it ended, but if you can take a step back from the last game of the season, last 2 games, you look at 11-2 season, you should consider that a huge success, especially the way the things were the 5 years prior. So here's Coach Elko talking about building that foundation.
Coach, I want to go back to December of 23, right? Because I think people forget how fast things moved. I mean, you walk into College Station, and within 2 years, you're hosting a college football playoff game at Kyle Field. So when you look back at that first year, kind of the foundation year, the culture install year, what's the thing that you are most proud of that nobody outside the building saw?
Yeah, I think probably it's how quickly the mindset flipped into, kind of embracing this idea of being a blue collar program, embracing the idea of, being a little bit more quiet and a little bit more productive. I think that was kind of a lot of what we preached when we got here, and you never know how fast kids are going to take on to it. And I think, some of the early success we had year one certainly helped. Obviously, the success we had year 2 helped a little bit more, but probably just most proud of how quick the mindset has shifted in and around our building.
The mindset has shifted, and I do think public perception of Texas A&M as a football program has shifted, not completely, because people are still going to say the 8-4 jokes. People are going to say has done the least with the most.
Well, right? How can you make 8-4 jokes after you went 11-1 in the regular season last year?
Well,
right, perception and mindset and culture, those are all unquantifiable characteristics of a program. They're all very real, right? You can see them and you can feel them when you're around them. However, are win totals not quantifiable, right? Last year, what was A&M's win projections? And I know this is ironic considering we were just talking about Sorsby, but BetMGM had A&M at 7.5 wins entering 25.
Yeah.
DraftKings, 8.5 wins entering 2025. That's based off
what
of
did
the
you
year
have
before.
A&M at?
I don't even remember. I would have told you 9-3 is a good year because it would have been progress from 9-4.
I had them at 8.5.
8-4 to 9-3. You could see obvious progress. This is way more than progress going from 8-4 to 11-1 in the regular season.
I had them at 8-4 to 9-3, and to me, it was all about which of those big games on the road do they win. We did not know LSU was going to not be considered that quality of a win, even though it was, in my opinion, especially at the time. But I looked at that as that's going to determine if they go 8-4, 9-3, one of those road games. Well, you know what they did? They won all those road games except the Texas game.
Yeah, I mean Notre Dame is kind of like a signal to the entire country that it's not going to be like 2025 or 2024, excuse me. And then they went into Baton Rouge. That game's still so impressive. It should be an impressive victory. A&M should have that as a feather in their cap because they went into Baton Rouge, cleared the place out, and effectively killed Brian Kelly's program.
Yeah.
Oh, and LSU was a top 25 team at the time.
Yeah, and am I remember correctly? LSU was leading at the half?
Yeah, they were.
Okay, so and most SEC games come down to a play or two.
And then remind me, 2 weeks later, they went on the road and played a ranked Missouri team, right?
Yeah.
And everybody had A&M on upset alert.
And I remember leaving that game. I think they won by what was it, 18 points, whatever it was. They won significantly.
In Baton Rouge?
No,
or
in Missouri.
Columbia? They won by 21.
21.
3 touchdowns.
And I remember not being that satisfied with that game because, I think Missouri ran the ball too well on us, and they won by 21. That just shows
they also
you.
Have Ahmad Hardy.
Well, let's do one more soundbite from Coach Elko on players today needing to know the why, and he breaks this down, and I think about this staff sometimes. Because this generation, your generation, the youngers, and you're older than the youngers, right?
I'll be 30 in January.
Right.
I'm old. They tell me all the time. They call me Unk.
They do call you Unk.
Reese said it as you said your age. He said Unk.
Of course he did. Reese didn't go tarps off at the Astros game last night, so maybe he's not truly part of that generation. Maybe he's older than he actually is.
It kind of depends on the moment.
It's tough.
Well, here's Elko talking about today players needing to know the why behind everything.
I think a lot of people put it on the portal or put it on. I just think it's just been a shift in the generation, right? And that's happened a lot. Our generation was different. It's just kind of how it is. And so I think that's the biggest thing. I think we spent a lot of time just kind of changing mindset through an understanding of why. Why is it beneficial? Why is it better to do things this way?
Sometimes you got to know the why. But I know what he's talking about because we're the same age. I think I'm a little older than Coach Elko, but we just did it. If Coach said there wasn't, and maybe that's not the right way to handle. Run a 15-yard out. Okay, right. Today's players, why is it 15? Why is it not 12? Why is it not? So understanding behind it, I think a little bit more clarity goes a long way with these players.
I would agree, and as long as they understand you're coming from a good spot, it's easier for them to buy in than I guess it was in days past.
Yeah,
but he's been great at getting players to buy in regardless.
All right, let's tell the people the name of the show, Richard.
This is TexAgs Live, brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers.
In the Rollo Insurance Studio, it is the Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Right
Maroon
now,
never looked so good.
Like Maroon you.
Yeah.
By the way, we're usually over there in the Holistic Planning Cool Zone, but OB's on vacation, so we've just kind of been chilling here
and
at the
I'm
desk.
not as cool as OB,
no,
and that's okay.
Not.
That's okay.
He's on vacay, so we're just hanging out with Richard here on the show. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it multiple ways. One way is to call us up on the Buppies Catering and Bartending Hotline, 979-693-1150. That same number, Catalyst Performance Energy, Pure
Performance Energy text line, 979-693-1150. And Kendall Stowers over in the Angry Elephant News and Social Center will take those text messages from you.
She will. Let's go around the room, left to right, to say hi to the people behind the glass. Is the Director of the Year, Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
What's up?
Hey, I got a soccer question, believe it or not, for y'all.
Soccer question, okay.
From Nick Savage?
Yeah, well, it's tied into college football, don't worry. So I get on Twitter, X, whatever, yesterday, and I see all this stuff about Spain and Cape Verde drawing.
0-0.
And, yeah. And I just kept seeing...
Expected goals, do you know what that means, Nick?
What'd you say? Expected
goals. It was 2.86 in favor of Spain to 0.28.
So that's their line. Yeah, I get it. But I kept seeing that was one of the greatest, unexpected outcomes in the history of the World Cup. So maybe to help me as someone who's completely soccer illiterate, can y'all explain that to me in college football terms? I know there's no ties in college football, but just something like that happening in the college football world.
2007 Appalachian State
Michigan.
At Michigan.
Yeah.
I like that one better.
That's brutal.
I was thinking Appalachian State A&M.
No, but Appalachian State was on the map at that point, right? They weren't an FCS school. Yes, that's unexpected for sure, but it was Appalachian State in 2007. Nobody had ever heard of them.
Northern Illinois, Notre Dame recently.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I was going to say this. I typically root for Spain outside of the
Shocker.
But not anymore.
Why is that?
Because they're full of Barcelona players, and I don't do Barcelona. They're the University of Texas of soccer.
Did you see the Cape Verde goalkeeper is 40 years old?
Oh, I like that.
And he went from having something like 51,000 followers on Instagram before the match yesterday to over 1 million. He was insane. Save after save. Nick, expected goals is like the way the game plays out. It accounts for shots on goal and saves and just general momentum of the match itself. So it's not a normal line like you would see betting lines. Spain was almost 3-0 expected goals over Cape Verde. That's insane. Well, they dominated the game and couldn't find a goal.
Well, 0 Madrid players, by the way.
That's why.
And they did not put Sergio Ramos on the roster last World Cup. So right now they're the enemy.
I guess.
Sure. I'm sure our entire A&M audience knows what I'm talking about. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Kendall Stowers back on the show. I am so disappointed that I was not here on your debut last week.
Yeah, I know. It was a good one, not gonna lie.
Was it good? Yeah. So you're already telling me Bronny's better than me. Thanks.
No. It was interesting. There was a lot of fun things that we were able to talk about with the Brendan Sorsby situation and me also playing college athletics.
Yeah, so you have a different perspective of it than us old people. So what's happening there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center?
One fun thing that I saw was Brady Montgomery again. The White Sox coming back in the 6th inning over the Dodgers the other day to win the series over the Dodgers 2-1. In the sixth inning, he had a single and then it was followed by a home run, so he was able to come home and steal another run for the White Sox.
Yeah, that did happen.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't bring it up to me.
Oh, I mean, it's fun to see Brady Montgomery have a lot of success. That's all I'm gonna say.
And
that's a good team. The White Sox are kind of really fun. If you're kind of a Major League Baseball casual, you don't have a team, like that's a team to get in on the ground floor right now. They're very young. They're leading their division. They're fun. It should be a fun summer on the south side of Chicago, and there's an Aggie right in the middle of it. So you're looking for a rooting interest. Why not Beaumont?
You've heard me say this before, but you probably understand this. My favorite player growing up was?
Jose Canseco.
Charles Barkley.
Oh,
like favorite? Yeah. No, just in general.
Okay,
but Canseco too. Barkley. Charles Barkley. When the Rockets and the Suns played in the playoffs, those 2 years that the Rockets won the NBA championship, they played Charles. I wanted Charles to have 30 points, 30 rebounds, and lose by 30. So you probably love to see Brady Montgomery do well.
I would love for Brady Montgomery to go 4 for 4 each night with four home runs, and the White Sox lose 5-4.
Let's get one more clip there, or one more story from Kendall.
Another one that I just saw someone commented in the comments was actually back to the Spain-Cape Verde thing. There was someone who bet $1 million on Spain to win that game.
Yeah,
$1 million.
I saw that it was on Kalshi, right? Like they put $1 million down, and the payout was you were only going to make like $58,000 extra on that bet. So I guess the person was just thinking, oh, free money because the odds are so high. That guy's not having a good one.
Well, if he's super rich, if it's Elon, he's probably fine. All right, let's hit a break. When we come back, we'll do the performance of the week, the knockout performance of the week. 1775 time. All right, Zane, I'm going to throw you a couple of options here that you probably haven't had. Tell me what your reaction would be. All right?
Okay.
All right. Raspberry chipotle pork belly burnt ends.
That sounds like
it sounds like we need to try that today.
Yes, I think we should go out there.
Smoked barbacoa tacos.
I would love that. I had some Mexican food last night, but I don't think it was nearly as good as smoked barbacoa tacos out at 1775.
That's a special on Saturdays. On Friday, if you like a loaded Brazos spud, or smoked half chicken.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, who doesn't? That's a good way to answer it. Thursdays, they're brisket Philly. When's the last time you had a Philly?
It's been a while. I don't think I've ever had a brisket Philly, so it sounds like I need to go out there on Thursday.
Go get that. They're open Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Call them up, 979-492-6241. The website, 1775txbbq.com. It's 1775, and Richard, it's good.
It's good.
Yeah,
sorry, I forget to play Olin's part because I'm not Olin Buchanan, but it's good.
We'll see you. Hey everyone, David Nuno here of TexAgs Live. I want to introduce you to the team at Holistic Planning. Got Jason Barber here, Taylor Pankratz, and also Paul Meredith. Jason, I want to start off with you. What really sets Holistic Planning apart from the others?
Yeah, so what makes us different is most financial advisors stop at investment management. On the other hand, Holistic Planning, we manage investments, taxes, and estate planning all on one team, all underneath one roof.
Now, Taylor, when everything is coordinated like that, it really helps the bottom line, doesn't it?
It really does. When your investments and taxes are working together, you stop leaving money on the table and keep more of what's yours.
Paul, Holistic Planning is trying to expand as well.
That's true. We just opened our Houston office, and we're looking for people who feel like their advisor isn't seeing the full picture, because that's exactly what we fix.
And Jason, there's other opportunities beyond that.
Definitely. If you're a financial advisor and you want to join the Holistic Planning team, we're looking to add 50 teams in the next 5 to 10 years. So check out holisticplanning.com/advisors.
All right, so if you want a team that actually coordinates everything, go to holisticplanning.com. Aggies, this one is worth it. All right, we're back. TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. We've got an update, okay? The Cape Verde, is that how we say it?
Yes.
Cape Verde. We've got I made it Italian.
Yeah, why did you make it Italian?
I make everything Italian, even though I'm not Italian.
I know, it's what's crazy about
Russian names, Italian. Ivan Volasky. See?
Rossini,
yeah. Whoa, hey. Different topic for a different show, buddy. It's Vrabel, by the way.
I think that is Italian.
Is it?
Rossini?
Yeah. Anyway.
We're done.
Kendall, give us the update on the goalkeeper from Cape Verde.
Yeah, he started at 50,000 followers, and someone in the comments said he was at 5 million, so I went to go look, and he's actually now at 7.4 million followers overnight.
7.4 million followers.
Wow, that's life-changing.
For the right reason, not for the wrong reason, right?
That's going to be life-changing for that guy. I would say young man, but he's 40.
The Knockout Performer of the Week brought to you by TKO Equipment. Rent, sell, lease, or rent to buy. TKO Equipment, which is your trusted source for used and heavy equipment. All right, Richard, who do you nominate?
Mine's Braden Montgomery. I'm a baseball guy. I'm going to keep it baseball. It was a week ago, Tuesday night, that he made his Major League debut for the Chicago White Sox. The storybook Major League debut. He gets his first base hit, a single in the fourth inning, an RBI single, and then, as fate would have it, the game found him late with the man on, the White Sox down a run, and he hits a 2-run walk-off home run, becoming just the 5th person to ever walk the planet Earth to hit a walk-off home run in their Major League debut. And then he followed it up the next day with a 2-double performance against the White Sox. He's played in 5 Major League games so far. He's got 19 at-bats. He's hitting .263, a home run, and 4 RBIs, OPS of .826. Just really cool to see him find success early as a big leaguer. It's not surprising considering how special of a talent he was during his one season in Aggie land. It's also fun to watch him find success because you know what kind of human being he is and how awesome his family is. And to see them celebrate, his mom Gretchen on Twitter, celebrate that debut, and then the next night, it's been fun to live vicariously through them. So wishing plenty more success for Braden Montgomery. And again, said it in the last segment, the White Sox are fun. If you're looking for a club to root for, they're a club that I won't have any problems cheering for.
Hey, and track and field, unfortunately. By the way, back to baseball for a second. You're more of a historian than I am when it comes to A&M history. Scott Clendenin and Bronny as well. Where does Braden, in your eyes, look like?
Like all-time teams at A&M?
Well, just player-wise, player profile. Is he when you talk about a guy that you look at instantly, you know, that's a major leaguer. Is he in your top 3-4 guys that you've seen at A&M?
So obviously I'm much younger than Scott Clendenin, who I consider to be the encyclopedia of Texas A&M baseball. He's the best, most athletic player I've ever seen. You look at him when he arrived on campus and be like, that's what big leaguers look like. And the athleticism that he actually has to go along with that frame is unmatched. He is, for my money, the most athletically gifted Texas A&M baseball player I've ever seen. And that's not to say he's the greatest Texas A&M baseball player of all time, but he's in that upper echelon of Aggies to come through here. And if you wanted to put together an all-time Texas A&M baseball team, I don't think you could leave Braden Montgomery out of your outfield.
Hey, Kendall, we got to hit a break here soon, so let's get a couple more in there. I know you have a nominee as well.
I do. I have from men's track and field, our javelin thrower Zaza. At Nationals, he won with 82.26 meters. It was 5 feet further than the guy in second place. And he was only one of 4. There was 3 other NCAA athletes that had actually thrown over 80 meters this season. And his season best was 84.68. So he was kind of just killing the field with that. And then obviously brought home gold from NCAA track meet.
Awesome stuff.
It was also his first throw of the meet.
Yeah.
It was his first throw, it was his best throw, and it won him the individual title. It was the high point for Texas A&M track and field this past week in Eugene, and it's always awesome to celebrate individual national champions. And you have a connection with him from back at Baylor, right?
Yeah, well, so he used to throw at Baylor, and it was fun when I transferred here, and then I saw that he was transferring over as well.
That's cool.
Just a fun Baylor to A&M connection.
Yeah.
I'll also throw in Cameron Dixon. She was in studio not long ago. A women's 4x100 school record, broke the mark that stood for 17 years, number 9 in NCAA history, finished 4th nationally. And just what a great run. I know that both the men and women probably did not finish as high as they wanted to, but a fantastic season without a doubt. And I'm not a Knicks guy. I don't know if anybody here is, but congratulations on winning the NBA Finals.
Sure.
Yeah, whatever. I'm done. Let's do a Heritage Film Time. By the way, Chad Withrow joining the show here in a moment. When it comes to preserving your farm or your ranch's legacy, it's not about pretty pictures. It's not about putting on Facebook memories. It's about capturing the wisdom of your land and making sure that you share that with those that are going to inherit your land. And that's what Heritage Films does. They do these 2-hour documentaries for family businesses, family ranches, and just families overall. And they're like a Netflix special. So if you got somebody important in your family that you want to tell their story and honor them, but also make it a story for the future generations, reach out to Chance McClain and his team. 713-893-8341. That is his phone number, 713-893-8341. Or check out the website, yourheritagefilm.com. That website, again, is yourheritagefilm.com. They capture the wisdom your grandkids will need. It is Heritage Films. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Puppies Catering and Bartending Hotline. Our good friend Chad Withrow joins us. He covers all things college sports and beyond. What's up, Chad? How you been, buddy?
I've been great, man. How are you guys?
I'm good, man. Rumor has it we're going to be hanging out here in about a month, right, in Tampa? I'll see you here in a month.
Yeah, I'll try to get on with Billy Liucci's posse in some way. I'm sure you guys are going to have police escorts everywhere you go down in Tampa. So anything I can do to ride the coattails of you guys while at SEC Media Days, I'm going to try to do it.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you. Let's start things off with, like, this. It's been an interesting show because for the last week, I feel like Brendan Sorsby has led TexAgs, right? Like, and this is an A&M specific show, but it's such a galvanizing topic. What was your reaction yesterday afternoon when the news came out that he was going to go into the supplemental draft?
My reaction was all of that for this, for Texas Tech. I mean, and David, I don't have to tell you, like you said, you've been talking about this a lot on your show, but to go through all of that rigmarole to get to the point where you just said, you know what, I'm good, never mind on all of that. I mean, the 21-minute weird roundtable press conference with all the powers that be at Texas Tech, all the fighting, all the deflecting, all of the internet is just big and bad and mean and ugly, and you guys are going to try to do this, but really everyone would do the same thing because it's only about winning and it's not about integrity or anything else. All of that to get to the point where the right outcome happened. I mean, look, we can get into, hey, there are players who have committed worse crimes than betting on their own team. But, David, you and I both know that, to me, the whole point of sports, I call it the Hippocratic Oath of sports. It's do no harm. It's do your best in sports. For a doctor, it's do no harm. In sports, it's do your best. Everybody has to know when they're watching a sporting event, especially if you have the ability to place money on it, which everyone does now, you have to believe that both coaches, both teams, everyone is putting their best foot forward to try to win the game and that you are competing to win the game. And the moment that you have any hint of impropriety with someone betting on their own team, someone that's got a gambling addiction that could be susceptible to having the game fixed, anything else, sports are ruined. You can't go back from that. So Brendan Sorsby, while he didn't bet against his team, there's no evidence that he took money to throw a game. He wasn't even playing in the games that he bet on his own team. He committed the cardinal sin of sports in doing that. He doesn't need to play college sports anymore. The moment that happened, the moment it was found out, he doesn't need to play. I think everybody pretty much realized that except for Texas Tech. So my reaction was, wow, we just went through a lot of headlines and a lot of negative press and publicity with zero benefit, because the only benefit Texas Tech could have had was, well, we still have our guy. We're going to miss him for the first 2 weeks, but we're going to have a chance to go back to the college football playoff because we got our quarterback. But instead, it was all of that for absolutely nothing except a huge black eye and a bunch of negative press, which, let's face it, it makes Texas Tech look terrible.
It does, and I think the winner in this, and I don't say this often, is the NCAA and the Big 12, right? Like they're like, oh, okay, you're going to say that? Well, we're going to do this. And very rarely do they win. They won in public opinion, and they won in the courts.
I totally agree, especially Brett Yormark and the Big 12, because you know, look, we live in SEC country here with you covering Texas A&M. I'm in the state of Tennessee. If Greg Sankey did something like this, it would be shocking, because the SEC is typically, especially from Greg Sankey and his perspective, it's, hey, we're all in this together. It's rare that the SEC would go after one of their own. If you remember when Greg Sankey spoke out against Charles Bediako playing for Alabama in basketball this year, that was a shock, because Greg Sankey would usually just stay silent if he disagreed with one of his teams or something they were doing. But the fact that he said anything negative was a big deal. Now think about that conference commissioner going after a member institution legally to stop them from doing something. So, yeah, I think Brett Yormark showed some really strong leadership in this. And the NCAA, I mean, they're a beneficiary of it for sure. But the fact that just some local judge, once again, could overrule them and any rules or regulations they have, I mean, who has the power in college sports right now? Is it the NCAA, or is it a collection of judges across America that can go in and either overrule something or uphold it? Joey Aguilar in Knoxville at Tennessee he didn't get the favorable judge where he could come back and play. So he's off to the NFL, right? But somebody else might go and get a favorable judge, and it's going to be fine for them. So it's a crazy world. I don't know that the NCAA is a big winner in this, but I will say that Brett Yormark in the Big 12 showed some really strong leadership, and I do think that they come out looking like a winner in this situation.
All right, so this is an isolated event. What does college football look like here in a couple of years? Do you think the Protect College Sports Act and all these things, and now the Brendan Sorsby case situation, the way it was fixed, what do you think is going to happen in the future? Are they going to get some real guidelines and guardrails?
I do think they're going to get some real guidelines and guardrails. I think it's going to look more like the NFL. I think this is the first step with what we're seeing with Congress and the government to get the ability to allow players to have a seat at the table and to start some collective bargaining. David, I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know what the employee side of this looks like. If players suddenly become employees, are they actually going to be students? Or are they just going to be sort of adjunct, football semi-professionals or basketball professionals? I think college football and college basketball will break off. I think everything else will be run by something like the NCAA. Probably the NCAA will continue to exist. I think we are barreling towards a super league. I really do. That's why the Texas Tech thing fascinates me, because if you're trying to get the clout to be invited into a super league, it would behoove you to become America's villain and to become popular and to become a team that everybody watches on television on Saturday, right? But also you run the risk of alienating everybody and no one liking you, and all the powers that be, Brett Yormark, Greg Sankey, Tony Petitti in the Big Ten, saying, no, we don't want any of that. We're not going to allow you into the Cool Kids Club. But I do think that we're going to get to a spot where Texas A&M and the rest of the SEC is going to be fine. The Big Ten is going to be fine. Notre Dame will be fine. They're going to go get Miami and Clemson and Florida State and whoever else they want, and go into the Big 12 and get whoever they want there. And there's going to be some level of the Cool Kids Club that's going to be a super league in college football. And I think we might see something similar in college basketball as well, while the Olympic sports and everyone else is governed by the NCAA. I don't know how long it's going to take to get there, but that could be 2 years, could be 5, could be 15. But I do think that's the inevitable future of college sports.
Chad, before I let you go, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about actual football stuff. So let's talk A&M for a moment. Over the last 3-4 years, I have found it increasingly more difficult to really analyze a team, even my own team, right, because of all the changes. A&M's got a lot of returning production, but the offensive line is completely different. The defensive line is going to look completely different. The wide receiver room should be similar. You got a quarterback that played excellent for 90% of last season. So when you look at A&M and considering what they have to do on the road, they got to go to Norman, they got to go to Baton Rouge, they got to go to Tuscaloosa, they got to host Texas and Tennessee. When you think about this, like, what are you thinking about A&M in Mike Elko's third year?
It's amazing what that 9th conference game does to everybody's schedule. It really is. Like, you hear it and it's like, oh, it's just one more game. And then you look at it, what it looks like from, late August, early September to the end to Thanksgiving, and say, wow, that is a gauntlet. And Texas A&M got one of those gauntlets this year. I love Marcel Reed. I've talked about on your show, talked about a lot, called his high school state championship games at Montgomery Bell Academy in Nashville. I am an unabashed Marcel Reed lover. I love the kid. I think he's a great player. I think he's going to have an even better year than he had last year in leading the Aggies to the college football playoff. I don't love the return of just 5 players on defense to a Mike Elko defense that is very nuanced and tough to learn and tough to gel together in, but is very good once he gets things rolling. So I don't love that part for Texas A&M. But I mean, I looked at 5 different projections from On3 to Athlon Sports to ESPN before joining you today, and it looks like A&M is somewhere around 4 or 5 in most of those projections. The SEC, I like that. I mean, I think they're a team that's going to battle for a college football playoff spot again. I think Marcel Reed's going to have a big year leading that offense. I think Elko has shown defensively he can figure it out. I think he will again, even with not a lot of returning production. So I like this A&M team, even with that gauntlet of a schedule we're going to see this fall.
Chad, great stuff, man. I hope to see you here in a month or so, and we'll talk soon, all right?
Tell Billy to allow us to get the police escort also everywhere we go, please, for dinner in Tampa. We'll see you there.
You got it, brother. Talk to you soon. Chad Withrow.
All right.
On the Bumpy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back. Got to talk a little college baseball with Richard on the other side. Right now, talk about the Rollo Insurance Group. You get a personal agent, you get a direct number, not a call center. You get a guy that knows your situation or a lady that knows your situation. That's the Rollo difference, and the difference is real. Rollo Insurance has been my official insurance provider since I moved here to College Station 5 years ago, and I've gotten to know the entire team. Jason Jackson, Keith Morgan, and the entire team is fantastic. And one of the big things you'll know about them, they love Aggie athletics, but they're everywhere. They got 60 offices in the great state of Texas. They're all around the country, but they're super local right here in College Station on Highway 6. Make sure you make the call at 888-44-ROLLO. That is 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. That's rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. Hey guys, David Nuno here to talk about our new partners with EventPipe. They are a leader in hotel booking technology, and now they're giving you a chance to support Aggie student athletes every time that you travel. Thanks to their partnership with United and EventPipe, whether you're heading into a game, a business trip, or family vacation, every room that you book comes with cash back in the pockets of Aggie athletes. That's a wonderful deal. And with EventPipe, you'll get discounted hotel rates up to 20% lower than the major travel sites, while enjoying a fast, easy booking process. They've even created Presto, EventPipe's quick launch booking solution. It lets organizations build branded hotel sites powered by live hotel inventory, making it simple to book the perfect stay. So next time you want to book a trip, do it the smart way with EventPipe and support Texas Aggies NIL through United. Visit their website, tau.eventpipe.com. And we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's
Greatest band
Jewelers.
of all time.
Tribe Called Quest?
This is Rush.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Tribe Called Quest.
Gonna see them next week. Twice.
You're going to go see them twice?
Yeah.
Huh.
Sick.
I don't think I would go.
You know what else is sick?
What's that? Baseball?
Getting the #1 player currently in the transfer portal.
Let's see. He's slashed 320. I'm reading from your headline.
Talking about Nate Savoy.
413, 596 in 57 starts as the Tigers as a sophomore with 16 homers, 13 doubles, and 52 RBI. Nate Savoy commits to Aggie baseball.
Third team All ACC last year. He was a first team All WAC pick at Loyola Marymount, a freshman All-American in 2025. Big time pickup for Michael Early out of the transfer portal. This is the biggest pickup they've had so far during this cycle, and he is an immediate impact bat for this A&M lineup that's having to replace a three-headed monster atop the lineup that is Gavin Grahovic and Caden Sorrell and Chris Akopian, and all three of those guys expect to hear their names called on the first day of the MLB draft. But don't forget how good of a player Bear Harrison was last year. He hit almost 300. He was an on-base machine. He was a defensive stud. So you have to replace production and defense behind the plate. A&M is going to get that in Nate Savoy. Oh, and he's a pretty good athlete too. He gives you some positional versatility. He can catch. That's the plan for him here. But he can also play outfield, which he did for Clemson last year. This is a massive win for Texas A&M and Michael Early. They beat out in-state rival Texas and Georgia for this commitment. It's now 5 commits for Michael Early and company as the portal cycle is still ongoing. And there are a lot of names, a lot of targets still out there that A&M feels really good about. So,
are any of them pitchers?
Absolutely.
Give me some pitchers.
I love the little, I can't do the sound you make, but that's, yes,
yeah,
a couple pitchers. One of them is, there is still a silent commit out there, right? Bronny put out a Bon Voyage that still hasn't committed. That one, I believe, will move the needle, excite some people. So the stove is hot, and Michael Early and company are cooking. Nate Savoy is a massive, massive pickup. Anytime you get the number 1 overall player currently in the portal, it's something to get excited about.
Well, and I have noticed a complete shift in your demeanor when talking about the portal from yesterday to today. Yesterday, you were like, hey, it's going in a good direction. Today, you're like, oh.
And this one was kind of, a little bit unexpected. A&M and company, they'd been working hard towards getting Savoy in the boat. I think one of the big pieces that helped A&M here was that Michael Early flew out to California to meet him, the agent and the family. Shows you that even in today's NIL age, relationships still matter in recruiting, whether it's high school or portal.
Ricardo, thank you very much.
Of course.
All right, we're going to hit a break. When we come back, I think we'll have Billy Liucci. That's next. It's the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. We're officially done with that. Hour number 2 next on the show. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Not sure if we're calling Billy here in a few minutes or if we're going to wait for him to show up to the studio, so we'll figure that out as we go. Nick, I want to start off with you real quick before I check in with Kendall. So yesterday we had I thought, a great interview with Mark Menchaca. It was one of my favorite interviews. It was awesome, right?
Yeah.
And I've heard from a lot of people. I heard from Ted Evans, who's a fraternity brother of mine back in the day, who met him at fish camp, and he talked about them hanging out. And I also I heard from Mason Pelham on Instagram. His grandfather is Stormy Kimry, who was the gentleman that indoctrinated Mark Menchaca into being an Aggie.
Yeah.
Stormy has passed away now, I think about 2 or 3 years ago, Mason said. But Billy had texted me during the interview that Stormy was one of the day ones of the Maroon and White Report. So just, the Aggie network in mysterious ways, like first off, I'm never surprised by the power of TexAgs. But even yesterday, just hearing from the amount of people I did from that interview was cool.
Yeah, it was cool to hear that. I thought the most interesting part of it was hearing kind of like the business side of that and the uncertainty of it all. You asked him, like, what's next? He's like, well, I don't really know. I hope I get something. But he's obviously in a good spot and had a great career, so I know we'll see him around. But yeah, it was cool to see, and we need more Aggie actors, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna probably. Well, now that he's my new friend, I'm gonna probably.
He'll get you in the biz. Get you in the front door.
And I'm a little embarrassed. I'm a huge Larry David guy, right? You know that.
Yeah.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. I've watched every episode multiple times. Obviously Seinfeld as well. And that I did not realize during the interview that he was on an episode of Curb. Like, that hurts my heart that I didn't know that. Like, I knew about all the other stuff, Ozark and yada, 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 but I did not know about that particular one. Nick, your attention seems to be to your left, which means Billy might be walking in.
No, we're trying to figure that out. We're probably going to give him a call here.
All right. Let's check in at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Kendall Stowers still with us. Kendall, what do you have for us?
I have a couple things, kind of just looking for the future or to the future of Aggie volleyball, one. And then also Aggie women's basketball just got a commit from Argyle. She was the 5A Defensive Player of the Year with Argyle. Can pretty much play any position, it looks like, from forward to guard to being in the paint, doing all the things. Looks like she's going to be really promising. She's a class of 2027. So
what's her name?
Landry Murphy.
Landry Murphy.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes. So she looks like she is a huge get for the women's basketball program. And then kind of shifting to volleyball. I know a lot of people know that the window for recruiting opened yesterday on June 15th.
It's different, right? Like I feel like volleyball, like the window, it may be long on the calendar, but people decide rather quickly, right? First few days kind of thing.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the fun thing. Back when I got recruited out of high school, it was a longer process. So I committed after a month, and that was really fast at that point in time. And now, if you don't commit pretty much within 24 hours, that's really slow. So it's a very big shift within the past few years with how that recruiting goes. But yeah, it's typically people will commit within the day, if not the day after. So that's one thing that's been interesting. And we haven't had any commits thus far, but that's also not anything to worry about because this year compared to last has just been slower across the board. So a lot of the top recruits haven't committed anywhere, which is pretty abnormal. But we'll see. Hopefully some news will come in today or tomorrow on that.
And I guess for people to understand, from what I understand at least, a lot of the people that A&M is targeting, they haven't committed anywhere. So it's not like A&M's lost anybody that they thought they had a good chance with. It's just people are taking more time to figure out what their future is going to be or to at least announce it.
Exactly. Yeah. All of our top recruits haven't committed anywhere. So it's nothing to fear over or to stress about, but it's interesting how this year it's been going a lot differently than it has the past 2 years.
What's your schedule like? When do you all start working together again?
So this year's a little different. Normally we're all here through the whole summer, but the coaches are not allowed to be in the gym or in the weight room or really just anywhere around us for all of summer. So we at the moment are just kind of doing like optional stuff like weight lifts and practicing on our own.
Right.
And we'll do that through June and July. And then in August is when we begin doing all of our fall camp kind of stuff with the whole team and the coaching staff.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Kendall. You're doing great.
Thanks.
Appreciate you. We turn our attention to the executive editor, co-owner of TexAgs, Billy Liucci. Hello, Billy.
Yeah, I mean, button.
Why are you smiling when you say that?
Well, because it was a little ridiculous how low that that little.
I feel like you've been more of a polo guy recently.
No, it's been like, it's literally, I've got like, I guess, I got like maybe one new one recently, and the other two are just old ones. It's hot.
A couple things. We are live at the moment, and I do like your hat, just so you're aware.
You know what it is?
No.
It's Traditions.
I
Go
thought it
get
was
one of the
Traditions.
fine folks at Traditions.
Shout out to Traditions.
Shout out to Bill Slade.
Hey,
Llama.
Bill. Can we start off with the big Nate Savoy commitment that came, at least for me, out of the blue? I didn't know that was going to happen. Big pickup for Coach Early and the Aggie baseball team.
Yeah, it wasn't out of the blue, but it also wasn't necessarily gonna. You were in a first. Georgia, when he went into the portal, a lot of people had him they thought he would go to Georgia just because of the momentum Georgia had and the catcher with what Jackson did this year, essentially being SEC Player of the Year, and couldn't get that hit last night though when he needed it against OU to win that game. Sooners won and moving on. So now we got Texas and Georgia again, but with Jackson leaving, and that felt like I think a lot of people just assumed, and then what it really came down to was A&M and Texas. So they've been in a couple of really, really big maybe two of the bigger portal battles fought so far. One, the Notre Dame outfielder ended up going to LSU. This was the other one. And to win this battle essentially over two teams, not essentially, like you legitimately won it over Texas, who's going to lose Carson Tenney at catcher, and then over Georgia, who's, again, losing Jackson. To go out and win that one, I think it's obviously the significance. Anyone that's followed this team understands that though he wasn't Hakopian, he wasn't Grahovic, he wasn't Sorrell, Bear Harrison was a huge part of the team's success this year.
Especially late. He got really clutch down the stretch there, and just the job he did behind the plate. Bear has been a really good player the last couple of years. And you had to replace him with quality anyway. But now to go and get a guy like this that was arguably the biggest name in the portal right now, to get Savoy, you not only you got a bat, you got a catcher that's a day one, and then they passed on. There were a couple of catchers out there, one from TCU that they kind of like, hey, we're going to try to hit the home run here. Mm-hmm.
No pun, pun intended. We're going to try to hit the home run here and go get the biggest guy. They passed on one of TCU's two catchers. He went somewhere else. There was a guy from St. Mary's and another TCU catcher that were kind of, not front and center. So you risk losing them if you can't get Savoy. So that was a big, big get. And credit Mike Early and Pennington and the staff because they went all in, and there was some risk involved. Like, you could have lost him to your rival, and it could have cost you with others. Now, obviously, great recruiters can balance that out and still come up, with a really good player at the position. But in this portal, that's hard because there's not more than like 3-4 of them total,
right?
In college baseball right now that truly you could say, okay, we feel good about replacing Bear Harrison with. And I think this guy obviously was the 1A for everyone that was in the portal looking for a catcher. So he should come in and be an instant impact, hit very high in the lineup, and again solve a position, not just a position of need, but one of the most necessary positions on the field.
I don't worry often or at all for a Michael Early offense. I think they'll get the guys, but it is nice to not have to worry about replacing Bear. But the question still is, what are they going to do with pitching? And it looks like they've started off nicely, and they still got some pieces to play.
Yeah, look, with pitching, the first thing you got to realize is if you were to ask Mike Early, some of the first names that are going to come out of his mouth are going to be Sims, McCoy, and Ramirez. So don't forget, two of those three guys you didn't even see as a part of this team this year. So when you want to talk portal, you may as well add at least Ramirez and McCoy into that conversation because you didn't have them at any point. So they're all newcomers. You could even add Sims if you're talking about like what does next year look like, and you should add him because he was one of the, he was a top 10 pitcher in the SEC before going down. So they've got a couple via the portal, but I would say stay tuned. You only in the last couple of days hired a pitching coach, and I think you're going to see him help close out a lot of these guys. It wasn't like they weren't recruiting pitchers; they were, and I think you're going to see them close out some of them here over the next, couple days to week, and then I think Aggie fans are going to be kind of like, oh, with a couple of them, and then you look at kind of, okay, now remember these guys coming back plus these guys, and I think people are going to start to feel pretty good about what they're doing on the mound, and then the key is going to be how well they're coached up, and you hope you got yourself the answer, with the guy that's going to be on in the 10 o'clock hour.
I want to transition to the Brendan Sorsby situation with you because this is another example that national people don't know anything because heading into the court case, everybody was saying there's no way he's going to play. Then he is able to play. And then everybody changes their tune like there's no way that the NCAA can win this because they're going to set a court date for after the season he's going to get to play. And here we are after, I think, public pressure and them reading the room a little bit better. He is not going to the supplemental draft. Were you surprised by yesterday's release from Texas?
Timing-wise, yeah. I think it was when you started to see what the Big 12 was doing and you saw all the blowback that they pretend didn't bother them. But I think that somebody in that room had to be smart enough to realize, like, hey, we're losing this battle badly, really badly. I don't want to give them too much credit because I'm not sure they would have come off that stance. But when you combine those two things, and then even if you're Sorsby, you're like, man, what is this? Him and his agent and his camp have to be like, is this worth it? Like, what could I possibly do that makes this worth it? I almost have to be perfect. The team almost has to be perfect. I almost have to be perfect. I'm going to be villainized everywhere we go. Are you ready for that? Are the articles, the social media, like at some point? And then the question of eligibility as they try to push that thing up, and they did. And like, it's just, let's just do this now and get to an NFL camp as quickly as possible. It was the best for him. It's the best for Texas Tech. I still don't think they realize it, but at least maybe you take away the decision from them, which essentially is, I think, what all of this ended up doing. And then they can end up doing the right thing because they only have one option. I mean, it's not like they voluntarily did it. I don't want to give them credit or anything, but it's best for all parties. And it's especially best for college football that guy does not play. It was ridiculous from the start. It was ridiculous that they tried to do it. I mean, but is it surprising? No. The only part of that surprised me was how tone deaf they were after the fact. Just in every single thing that they said, recorded, and wrote.
Even Joey McGuire.
So tone deaf. It doesn't really surprise me there. I mean, and it's been such a promotional program. You got your recruiting director talking at every turn, yapping on Twitter. Every national media person that falls for it and doesn't understand that they're shopping these interviewers, or then they go, oh, I know who will do an interview with me that's a recruiting coordinator. That guy will. Well, there's a reason a lot of others don't. It's more of a lower key position. So he's doing that. He's on the cover of Texas Football. Hey, way to go, Dave Campbell's. Now I'm going to see that every grocery store I go in. It's going to be Campbell, him, and McGuire. And I forget who the fourth one is. Is it their OC? I don't remember. But that whole thing was such they've just been like an attention-seeking program, and it's worked. And I get it. Like, from where you're at, and I've said before, I love the part of Campbell spending on NIL and just saying, hey, we don't care that we've never had a seat at this table before. We're going to buy our seat because we're allowed to now. That's fine. I actually laud that. I also don't mind Cody going and trying to do And he finally kind of said it in that write-up yesterday, but he's trying to keep Texas Tech afloat and relevant in the new world of college football. And if realignment hits and that's great too. That's your alma mater. I wish everyone, A&M had that had any kind of money that could make a big difference could do that. And a lot of them would if the Aggies were in that position. But this stuff, particularly this Sorsby stuff, they crossed over. And you saw the national perception cross with them.
Think about the 2-week period from how Joey McGuire responded to Sark.
Yeah.
And they won. They won that battle, right?
Everyone, which I thought was stupid. The national media had been acting really dumb towards Texas Tech for a long time, in my opinion. No one last year ever called out their schedule during the playoffs. Not to say they shouldn't be in. They were clearly one of the 12 best teams. They were higher than that. But no one ever argued. I felt like a whole year I'm watching people argue against A&M and where they should be ranked. And they argued against other teams as well. But no one ever, I didn't hear anyone ever argue, why are we assuming Tech should be a top 4 seed because they won the Big 12? Why? Let's look at who they actually played. Forget about like the piss poor metrics that somehow as the Big 12 starts playing each other, these certain teams go up and up. I've been saying that for years since A&M left the SEC. There's a flaw in that system, in the way they determine strength of schedule, or the committee does anyway. Forget about all that. Just have common sense and go, okay, who'd they play? They played Utah and they played BYU twice. What I say all year, unless the best football in the union, in the state of, in the United States of America was played in the state of Utah, and Tech hadn't done crap. They look really good doing it, and you see where that defense was going to be a problem, but nobody ever said, do these guys really deserve a top 4 spot?
Right.
Over an A&M, over a Georgia, over an Oregon? Do they deserve this? And I never heard that. Because it was such a good story, people didn't want, and they somehow screwed that up. Like you said, the Joey McGuire Sark thing, that was performative, stupid, over the top. Like just the soundbite, I'm great with it. McGuire wants to say, play us. You guys talk a big game and play us. We can make it happen. But they went so far with it, and people just loved it.
Yeah.
And then they screwed it all up with the way they handled this Sorsby stuff.
All right, let's hit a break. I want you to hear a soundbite from Coach Elko. He was on with Greg McElroy. Get your thoughts on that. Right. A little bit more A&M football talk. When it comes to your money and your peace of mind, it starts with the right team. That right team is Aggie-owned Paragon Financial Advisors. They're an independent fiduciary firm serving clients all across Texas. No commissions, no sales pitches, just trusted advice tailored to you. They have a team of 18 professionals, and, including 9 CFPs, a CFA, all on their staff, and their expertise runs deep. And at Paragon, credentials matter, and so does your future. Visit paragon-adv.com or give them a call, 979-693-3907, to schedule your free consultation today. It is Paragon Financial Advisors. Integrity, expertise, and trust. Paragon Financial Advisors. All right, we're talking about Burlebo, the heart of Texas, more than an outdoor lifestyle brand. It's products created with you in mind. Currently, I'm wearing the Performance Polo, the Texas Maroon and Gray. If you look into it, you've got the state of Texas in gray, and you also got it in maroon. It's one of their highest, most popular sales that they have there. It is really nice. Comfort and versatility. You can wear it in any situation. Quick drying, fits the size. But Burlebo, they're rooted in tradition, fueled by passion for the outdoors. Designs high-quality apparel that works just as hard as you do. So whether you're hitting a workout, enjoying a day of fishing, or cheering on your favorite college team, their gear is made for the athlete, the outdoorsman, and the everyday adventure. And it's really nice. I wore this one to church the other day. People talked about it. Really, my kids were like, Dad, you look pretty good today. From athletic shorts to your favorite go-to tees and performance hoodies, they have everything you want. Check out burlebo.com and find your new favorite gear. It's Burlebo for the athlete, for the outdoors, and for the family. And we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy Liucci still with us here in studio. Billy, I want to talk a little Coach Elko with you. And, we're a month away from SEC Media Days. We'll be gathering with all the folks there in Tampa. He went on with Greg McElroy. We love Greg. He's been good to the show and to TexAgs. And did you hear his interview with him?
No, but I'm going to say something beforehand. It's unfortunate, but Luke Evangelist is fired because of the soccer draft that he did. And somehow I leave the room for 1 second, I come back in, and I've got the last pick.
16th pick, yeah.
I'm 16th out of 16, and he tries to spin to me, but it's a snake draft, so you also get 17. Yeah, and I also get the last team, like 48 or whatever it is. I'm getting my ass kicked in soccer right now by the Middle East. Like, nothing against the Middle East and the OPEC countries, but, I mean, I've got crap
I don't even know your teams. Who do you have?
So I've got, like, Switzerland, who tied, I believe, Saudi Arabia. Okay. Mark Passwaters played in the Little League World Series for Saudi Arabia. Okay.
Pardon?
Yeah, no known fact. Little League World Series, the Gas Man played in.
This is a true story?
It's a true story. Look it up.
Holy
Ask
smokes.
him.
Come on.
I was giving him a hard time. Not a hard time about it. It's not a hard time. It's really cool. And then my other team was Uruguay, so one of them tied, I forget which, one of them tied Saudi Arabia, the other one tied Qatar, however you say it. And my last pick, of course, because nobody picked them, is I've got freaking Iraq.
So
I've got Iraq is going to obviously lose, and then I've got teams that can't even beat soccer teams from the damn Middle East. Sorry, Middle East, but I feel like it's more of a European sport, South American sport, right? Or American, hopefully now, but I'm getting pummeled.
Yeah, you're getting pummeled. You got destroyed. How's the owner of TexAgs?
Well, how did I get the 16th pick is what I want to know.
Look, I've said this on the air. I'm a little appalled and dismayed by Luke's attempt to force a draft during meetings that our company's trying to grow and find.
Well, apparently, also he's not following up and posting scores and says, "Well, that's not my job." Well, if you do the draft, then
it's on you.
You're the.
I actually don't know who I have. I don't remember. I know I drafted France. That's all I remember, and they're pretty good. Now we'll take a step in the Coach Elko department.
Football.
Yeah, there you go. Nice transition. Here's Coach Elko on preparing for the SEC and, of course, that daunting road schedule.
What did that teach you about kind of who this program is?
Yeah, I think it was something we had to do. I think obviously if you looked at us over our time in the SEC, the road record was a big blip on our radar, right? It was something we had to improve and get fixed. We talked an awful lot about it going into last year because we knew so much of our success was going to hinge on those games and how we performed in those games. And so I think the kids take a little bit of confidence in, okay, we're doing things in a way that when we get into those hostile environments, and in each one of those games, there were moments where it was not going our way. We can stay together. We can figure out a way to come together and come out on top. And I think that's a huge part of playing in this league. If you look at the successful teams over the years in this conference, they have all struggled somewhere on the road and just found a way to get out of there with a win. And that's SEC football. And so it was really cool to take that step.
They did take that step. And if you look at all those road games, he mentioned it later on in the bite, all those games, there was adversity. Like, it wasn't a Notre Dame, obviously, several times there was adversity, but there was adversity in those road games, and they found a way. The LSU game, they were down at the half. They found ways to not only win, but win convincingly.
All of them. And to go, what were they on the road? Was it 4-1 or was it 5-1? I think 4-1. You beat Notre Dame. We talked about that. Couldn't have more adversity in a football game than that, coming down to the final play and trailing. You had Arkansas. That was just think about too, like the weather delay, sitting in the hotel all day, not knowing when you're going to play. A day game turns into a night game. It was Bobby Petrino's first game back as head coach, and the defense couldn't stop Arkansas from play one. They ran for like 50 yards. And then from there, so for Marcel and the offense to know this has to be a shootout. And then you mentioned LSU, you're trailing at halftime, really played one of your more like kind of immature team quarters of the season.
Second quarter, yep.
And to overcome that and a halftime deficit on the road at a place you'd never won and destroy them. Your other three quarters were arguably your best, probably the first and third quarter before you were able to literally throttle down by playing two great quarters of football. That's how good you were that night. But there was adversity. And then at Missouri, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's a 7-0 game right before halftime, and you have the Sanford Dalton Brooks play, and you go up 14-0 at half, and then kind of you had pretty firm control of that game. But for a half, that was that wasn't easy. That was a struggle. So, no, Elko's spot on. You have to take steps as a program under a new head coach, or if it's a rebuild, or if it's, you're new to the conference. Like, look at OU. Like, they took steps last year, big steps. You have to get anywhere in this league. You can't just snap the finger. It just doesn't work that way. And so for A&M, for years when they got in the conference, I said the first step was they had to start beating LSU at home. Make that a home-and-home series. You can go, you don't want to, but you can go 0 against Bama. And they didn't go 0 they won 2, but they won the very first one. But you can consistently lose to Bama because everyone else in the conference in college football were doing that. So let's just set that one aside for now. But the first order of business for A&M was to consistently beat LSU. You had to start winning at the requisite rate against the Mississippi schools. And with the way this league was structured back then, they weren't doing that. So for Mike Elko, one of the a big thing was to win in Baton Rouge. And then along with that was to win on the road. And you look at last season, they did break through in that win at Florida, but then they couldn't finish it off by losing to Auburn and South Carolina there late when A&M was the better team. Even though South Carolina had more NFL players in the upper classes, that was still a better A&M team. But you go on the road in the SEC and that kind of stuff happened. So they showed a lot of growth in that regard. And the other area that I think Elko and the Aggies, a step they've taken in 2 seasons is to stop losing, like, what do we say, the games you shouldn't. Stop losing the games you shouldn't at Texas A&M. Jimbo did that. Sumlin did that. Sherman did that. A lot of times, those are the ones that kill your season. You guys in volleyball, Kendall, you can go and beat, go win some big SEC games, and then you go win like 3 big matches in a row, and then you look up and you go on the road and play somebody that's near the bottom of the standings. You know how much that one loss feels like you've lost as much as you gained in 2 or 3 wins in this league. So A&M football had a habit of that, and that has not happened, I think, outside of Auburn in particular. But last year, a lot of those games we just mentioned, those are games that the Aggies had to win, and they did. You couldn't lose. Okay, Auburn's a tough defensive team. You can't lose to them at Kyle Field after you beat Notre Dame. You had to beat Florida when they're down at Kyle Field. I don't care that they just beat Texas. You have to handle a confident, hot Florida team coming in. You had to do the same with Mississippi State. That was dangerous. They had beaten ASU. They played Tennessee to overtime. It doesn't matter. Those are not, you have to respect them, but those are not good teams in the SEC. Just look at where they ended up. Arkansas, win. That's part of the change around here that we needed to see as well. Not losing the games you shouldn't and winning on the road. And if you think about this year, if they can do those 2 things, I don't know who's the shouldn'ts yet. On the surface, you think of Arkansas, you think of Kentucky, you think of Arizona State with the rebuild. Okay, there's probably another 1 or 2 in there. You need to win those. And then if they're good on the road, maybe you go 2-1 in the games against Bama, South Carolina, and OU. Well, guess what? That's probably your path to the playoffs. Yep. It's to have. I said LSU, Bama,
South Carolina.
South Carolina, yeah. And I know Missouri's road too. But if you go 2-1 in those three, and you don't lose to anybody you should, there's probably about 4 games sitting in there. And you go, okay, if you go 2-2, or you lose one of those road games and you go 3-1 to Texas, Tennessee. Help me out here. Texas, Tennessee.
At home?
I kind of named all of them.
Well, you already said Kentucky. So. All right,
anyway, the other one to that we just went through that whole thing. Next up on the to-do list, what is it?
Next up on this, to me, I think about geo-targeting one thing, stopping the big plays. But are you saying just for culture, for the movement of A&M football, winning on the road?
I'm going to geo-target something else.
Sorry, that's what smart people say.
I was just going to say beat Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Smart people use geo-targeting?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Google it. Google geo-targeting. See who, and ask if smart people do use that term.
All right, Broninger.
I looked at my thesaurus this morning and came up with some good words to use this week. I like to better myself vocabularily.
I just use that around. I don't need a thesaurus. I watch podcasts with smart people.
I go and read the thesaurus once a week and plug in some words to use, especially when I host the show.
We'll hit
somewhere he's listening.
Is he?
Nah.
No, he's busy. Right now, Ground Shuttle, they offer frequent and reliable shuttles from Bryan College Station to George Bush Intercontinental Airport. Commute in comfort with luxury shuttles, reclining seats, and much, much more. You can catch up on work. You can sit back and read, just relax, whatever it may be, because we all know when you go to George Bush Intercontinental Airport, it just is not good, right? Like the parking there is terrible. The traffic there is terrible. You never know if you left on time, but with the good people there at Ground Shuttle, you're going to get there. They run 9 shuttle times on the weekdays every hour and a half and 5 shuttle times on the weekends. They're local, and Camilo runs the show there. He's fantastic. Easy to book your shuttle online at groundshuttle.com. That is groundshuttle.com. Call them up, 855-303-4415. It's Ground Shuttle. Let them do the driving.
What's up, everybody? I'm here to tell you about Fratella Italian Cafe. If anyone knows anything about Italian food, it's me, Billy Liucci. And Fratella has the best Italian food in BCS. Located at 3901 South Texas Avenue, Fratella is known for their handmade pasta dishes and feature lasagna, beef cannelloni, chicken parmesan, chicken fettuccine alfredo. A couple of my favorites, just a big old bowl of plain old spaghetti and some manicotti. Really recommend the manicotti. That's my go-to. And don't walk out of there without trying the fresh, piping hot breadsticks and the homemade in-house cheesecake, which is incredible. It's great for dining in, catering, gift cards, and even shipping, which they do nationwide. Fratella's is Aggie-owned and operated, and it's an official restaurant partner of Texas A&M Athletics. I'll see you there.
Hold on, stop. Billy's going through sorry, I didn't mean to yell at you. Every state and trying to see where we've been. I'm at 15 so far. How many states we have left? Because this game never ends. It feels like Luke's draft.
We could have done it much quicker.
But you were asking. I was just going at the speed you were going.
Yeah, so anyway. I don't know what my number is. I think it's like, I feel like it's like 30.
You turned your mic off. That's great. And you're like splitting it up.
I feel like it's 31, but I haven't done there's an area I haven't done. It's like that part of the country, and I'd like to go to Montana later this summer. That's kind of a plan. But Montana, North, South Dakota, Iowa, believe it or not, and like Minnesota, Wisconsin. So like I wouldn't say the Great Lakes because I've been to Michigan. Michigan, but that little swath, and then actually the Northeast. You know, not the true Northeast, but like the Eastern Seaboard, like Maryland, Delaware, Rhode Island, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, like all of that.
All right, I want to ask you this question. How elite do you have to be elite? And there's a reason to my madness, all right? That sounds like a ridiculous question. I see your face. CBS Sports had their list of the 10 most talented units in the country, okay? A&M did not make any of these lists, okay? Ohio State wide receivers was 1. Oregon defensive line was 2. Notre Dame secondary 3. It had Texas's wide receiver at 4. Indiana's offensive line at 5. Ole Miss backfield at 6. It has Georgia linebackers at 7. Miami's backfield at 8. Texas offensive line at 9. And Alabama secondary at 10. Yeah, I agree. A&M not listed.
Texas's O-line to be in there is outlandish, in my opinion. Who did that?
CBS Sports.
Outlandish. I don't know which other ones are outlandish on there, but Texas's O-line. I'm not saying they can't be good. I mean, they've got a great left tackle in Gooseby and
Brad Crawford.
And they return a couple other starters. I think they returned 3 out of 5. They went portal. I mean, that's like just assuming A&M's guys are going to be good. You went and got a guy from Wake Forest that A&M didn't really go after. You got a guy from Western Kentucky that's a little short and undersized. They could be good. They certainly could. But to have them as a preseason elite they shouldn't be on the list. I also don't think any of A&M's positions should be on that list except potentially one. Now, I do think the secondary can make a big-time jump with what they have coming back and what they brought in. And they need to. Like, to me, like that unit can make this a really strong defense if they are what I think they are. But if you're listing preseason elite, I think you go A&M's wide receivers. And I'm not saying they should be up near the top of that list. I'm not arguing they should be ahead of Texas. They could end up being there, but it doesn't matter to me. I do think they should be in that top 10. With Craver, with a proven guy like Isaiah Horton, Ashton Bethel-Roman, like I think we give him credit more than they do nationally. But if you look into what he did in the second half of that season and kind of some of the plays he made against who he made him against, I think he should be someone that you give a lot of credit to that receiving core for. I also know what Terry Bussey did, and I know what Aaron Gregory is going to be, and that's just the tip of the iceberg as far as some other guys that could contribute this year. So, yeah, absolutely. I think that A&M receiving group should be a top 10 unit. I mean, I think Craver has All-American potential, and Isaiah Horton has a chance to be special.
So, but I guess the follow-up to the original question is, how elite do you have to be an elite team, meaning playoff-worthy team, right? Do you have to have 2 or 3 position groups, or is it the sum of the parts, the group overall? Because Indiana last year, I mean, we did not know preseason-wise that their quarterback, that their wide receivers, that their defensive line was going to be as elite as they became.
If you look at A&M, their D-line, like A&M, their pass rush was pretty elite. Their offensive line, I'm torn on the O-line if I want to say elite because of how they performed in the last, 3 games or so. But they're as good as, they were a top 5 or top 10 unit, top 10 at worst, top 5 maybe in college football last year. So elite, I think, compared to others. It's just so hard for offensive lines, I think, in today's day and age to go and dominate defenses like the last 2 A&M played, much less, that's more play calling to me. When you look at Dylan Stewart, Colin Simmons, Bain, Mesidor with Miami, those guys are hard to stop. Indiana couldn't stop them. They were the national champs. But they could line up and run the ball down your throat like they did in Miami when they needed to win that game. To me, that has a lot, just as much or more to do with play calling and scheme and method of attack. So, yeah, I think A&M was pretty elite pass rush wise. They're pretty elite O-line wise, and they're pretty elite at receiver. So, you mentioned Indiana. I'd say Miami. They were, I think, an elite O-line. They were an elite defensive running back, and they were an elite pass rush defensive line.
And Malachi Toney became an elite
playmaker. That's a different topic.
Yeah.
Then you go into, do you need elite units, or can just really like good to very good, but throw in elite players? So A&M's pass rush was outstanding. How much of that did Cassius Howell set it off? Miami's D-line was elite. You take away a Reuben Bain, what does that look like? You mentioned Malachi. What does that do to their passing game without him? They didn't have an elite receiving core. They had an elite player. So that's two different topics to me. But as far as position groups go, I do think you need to be top 5 elite at something and top 20 at multiple other positions. That's just what makes up a really good football team.
So in December, if we had to write this again, okay, you kind of already stated some of them.
Secondary.
A wide receiver, secondary. Is there a third group that you could be like, hey, they're borderline elite? I hope secondary.
Reed. Marcel Reed.
Special teams.
Marcel.
Yeah.
Quarterback.
Which he was elite.
For most of the season, yeah. Almost all of it. And, people forget when we talk about Marcel and go, okay, if he makes this jump, if he gets that much better and puts in the work this offseason and the experience really starts to kick in, we're thinking, okay, then he makes plays to beat Texas and he makes plays to beat Miami. What about in all those other games if he's that much better?
Right.
When you're playing ASU and Kentucky and you're going on the road to South Carolina and Missouri and, what about, we're thinking of OU, we're thinking of Texas, we're thinking of, in Baton Rouge, but what about all those other games if Marcel really is a top 10 player in college football? Then what does that look like as he's spraying the ball around to those receivers and things open up in the run game? Then what does that look like for A&M if he's that guy? It's not just in those games that you circle, OU, Bama, LSU, and Texas. It's the other 6 really meaningful games. Take out the scraps, but it's the other 6 really meaningful games. You go, what are their odds of winning look like in those? Because I think in those are the ones where it goes through the roof.
Thank you, Billy.
All right, Deb.
All right, moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. If you're in the Bryan-College Station market or anywhere in the Brazos Valley or just listening to the show wherever you may be, you need to check out Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They're stocked up and ready to deal on all the cars on their lots. You name it. They've got the pickups. They got the SUVs. They got the great customer service. You're going to love it. They are locally owned. They have an Aggie alumni team that's ready to roll out that red carpet. And as you know, every vehicle comes with that free oil change for life as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Stop selling for big city prices and high-pressure tactics. Just check out the good people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. It's about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the good people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. And we are back. 2-minute segment, so we let Billy leave a little early. It is TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. And as a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggie Land since 1984 with your favorite pizza. And, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. Stowers, talk to me. What's up?
Another fun thing that actually I feel like I personally am super intrigued by as an Astros fan is Hunter Brown is back tonight against the Tigers.
Yeah.
That's huge for the
So
Astros.
You were telling me your dad's a huge Astros fan?
Yeah, he's from Houston.
Okay. So you've grown up watching the Astros?
Yes.
Well, how old were you when they won I'm sorry, I could do the math, but I don't want to. In the 2017 World Series?
2017, I was 12.
12. And then the next I went with them to Los Angeles for that World Series. That was awesome. 2019, when they lost to the Nationals, I was there in D.C. I went to the first 4 games, but then I went with the Texans to London. So I didn't get to see them lose that one. And then 21, am I right about 21? 22? When they won the other World Series, I was here in 2022 when they won that World Series. So how old were you in 2017? I spoke
2017, I was 12.
12, okay.
Yeah. I was not watching them around that age.
No? No. When did you start watching?
I didn't really get into them until, I would say, like, high school probably.
Okay.
We went to a bunch of games where they were playing at the Rangers. And, I don't know. I was never a huge baseball fan before that. My family is football and volleyball, so.
Well, this building has got a lot of Ranger fans as well. Olin's a big Rangers fan, and Callie's a big Rangers fan. All right, let's hit a break. When we come back, we will transition to a little bit more baseball. Bo Porter, former Astros manager, going to join the show. We got a lot to talk about with Bo here on TexAgs Live. We're working on getting Bo Porter on the show. We'll see if we get him on here during this hour. If not, we'll just tap dance for 35 minutes. It's what we do before we talk to Nick Roush of KSR. We'll talk to him on the other side at 10:35 or so. But I guess what we'll do right now, and by the way, why are we talking to Bo Porter? I didn't do a good job of teasing. Barry Enright worked with Bo for a couple years with the Angels, so we'll chit-chat with Bo about that at some point, if not today, here in the next couple of days, but we hope to get him. We are getting him. So, and I guess I'll kind of tell Bo a little bit about I've actually covered Bo in the past, so he will not remember me. There's no chance about that. So, but I'll certainly work on that. Is he on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline, Nick? All right.
Good morning.
Good morning, Coach Porter. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Great. So, look, I'm going to tell you a little history between us. Back in 2012, when you were introduced as the manager of the Astros, I was working at ABC 13. Did I lose you? Oh, man. It was such a great setup, too. It was going places. I mean, like, I felt like we were vibing. I felt like, hey, man, like it was like a good start to the interview. It's all right. We'll work on getting him back here in a moment. I'm going to save that story. Everybody knows the answer now. Like, I interviewed him like day one, and we did a one-on-one. He was great. So we'll get with him here in a few minutes. We may need to call him on the phone. I don't know. That might be the case. All right. In the meantime, can you read a comment or two? Are you there? Oh, man. This is not going the way I wanted it to. Yeah. Anyway, can you read a comment or two, Kendall, as we figure out what's going on with Bo Porter?
Just talking about like football, baseball, all the things. And I know a lot of people are really excited about Jamie Sidebottom with football, or the punter coming from Australia. There's also obviously just talk from when Billy was on the show about being 8-4 and not losing the games that we shouldn't lose and stuff like that. So, kind of all the things. Everybody's excited for all of the gets for Aggie baseball too.
Yep. Well, let's see. We're going to try it again. Bo Porter, are you there, sir?
I'm here, sir.
All right. So, look, you missed an awesome story. The story was one of the best I've told on the show. So, day one of your time with the Astros, 2012, I interviewed you. I was at ABC 13 at the time. We did a one-on-one after the press conference, and I covered you for several years while you were with Houston. If I remember, weren't you living in Houston before your time with the Astros as well? Like you were running an academy. Am I right about that?
I was in Houston for 17 years.
Wow.
Before being named manager of the Astros, and I still reside in the greater Houston area.
Well,
and yes, I was running an academy, and the academy has since grown into Bo Porter Academy, which is a college preparatory private school.
I got to ask you this, because I want to figure out what you're doing. How come you don't age? You still look like the Bo Porter as a player. Like, you don't age at all, man. You're still jacked. You're still looking good. What are you doing?
I tell you what, I try to eat right, and obviously working out each and every day, running around with these kids. You have to make sure you stay in shape so you can keep up with them.
Well, I totally get that. The reason we reached out to you, Callie Gardner on our social media team, saw that you had tweeted back about the outstanding hire, Barry Enright. I know you worked with him for a couple years, so just tell us the kind of guy that Barry Enright's going to be for Texas A&M as their pitching coach.
Well, the first thing I want to commend Texas A&M for. I don't know how it all came about, but when you just look at Barry Enright and his entire career, from player to coach to transitioning from Major League Baseball to Texas A&M, which is one of the best baseball programs in the country. I also believe that Texas A&M just hired arguably one of the best pitching coaches in the country. I had the privilege of actually being the third base coach for the Arizona Diamondbacks when Barry Enright made his major league debut. So I joke with him all the time because his first major league at bat, he comes up in a sack bunt situation, but it's a man on second. They're going to run a wheel. I call timeout. I call him down. I say, hey, look here. I said, you're going to fake bunt. You're going to slash here. He goes, I'm swinging. I said, you're going to show bunt. You're going to pull back, and you're going to slash. Fake bunt slash. He gets a base hit and goes on to have a pretty good professional career on the mound. But the last 2 years, I had the opportunity to actually work with him on a day-to-day basis when he was the pitching coach, for the Angels. He ended up leaving after 2025, so he transitioned to the Athletics. But throughout those 2 years, what I witnessed was someone who's extremely prepared, understands not just the development of pitching, but also the in-game adjustments that pitchers need to make to get through 6 innings. I've listened to him talk to our young pitchers that we had in Los Angeles about the maturation of how to use your stuff even when you don't have your best stuff. So Texas A&M has made a great hire here, and I'm looking forward to the success I think that he's going to have and the program is going to have with him being a part of the program.
Bo, for you, is it surreal to know that you've coached the young man who now has this awesome developing career as a coach as well, and just seeing, like, you saw him day one and now you're seeing him now?
I said I don't want to age myself, but no, it's great when you in this game of baseball, we realize that you come across so many people and you just never know how those relationships are going to materialize. And I interviewed for the Angels manager's job that offseason before.
And do that face where I'm like, I'm waiting for the next part. I wanted to hear that part. Oh, man. Maybe if he rejoins, Nick, see if we can get him on the phone to finish out. We'll just call him, see if we can get his phone number. Because I wanted to hear that story. I definitely wanted to hear it. He didn't want to age himself. A couple of things that I'm going to ask about Barry, that what I've heard, from others that know him, is what, he's known as a really good teacher. I want to talk about that. Like, what makes him a good teacher? What makes him a good developer? What makes him such a good relationship builder? How is he as a tactician? These are all things. And again, to me, one of the most important things for A&M baseball is, do they get the guys, right? Are they able to get the arms? Because look, they were shorthanded last year, and you can get mad about the reasons for it, but they were shorthanded, right? They had some injuries that certainly derailed the depth on that staff and what this staff could have looked like. But they still need more guys at top level. And I think that's going to be a very important thing for what they do moving forward with the pitching staff. So why don't we do this? Why don't we hit a break, Nick? We'll hit an early break, try to regroup with Bo Porter and try to tie it all together. Maybe we can get him on the phone and finish out, because I definitely want to hear how he was closing out here on TexAgs Live. Right now, we're talking about Guaranty Bank and Trust. They've been around since 1913. They have over a century of experience helping Texans as one of the most respected community banks. They are so respected. And what you want from a community bank is just to feel that they're part of your community. And that's what Guaranty Bank and Trust does. 3 great locations across the Bryan-College Station market, but they're all over Texas, by the way. You can find them at 33 locations in Texas. You got them in East Texas, DFW, Houston, Central Texas, and as I mentioned, right here in the Bryan-College Station market. Their market president is Brendan Sorsby. He's an Aggie. He runs the team here. And when you go into the office, you can talk to him about Aggie sports, Aggie life, but you'll see him all around town at big-time events, at small-time events too, because the whole group there at Guaranty Bank and Trust is about growing stronger for this community and being a part of this community. Every decision is shaped by helping this community grow stronger. They have exceptional relationship-focused banking. Go check them out. The website is gnty.com. That is gnty.com. Guaranty Bank and Trust, a division of Glacier Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. On TexAgs Live, Bo Porter still with us on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. All right, so when we last were speaking, I asked you about how cool it is from your view to see the evolution from player to coach. You said, don't age me, so I'm not going to age you, but you have seen it, so I'll let you take it from there, Bo.
Well, when you look at the maturation of Barry Enright, I was interviewing for the Angels manager's job, and I called one of the people that I know has developed so many pitchers in Major League Baseball, Brent Strom. He was actually the pitching coach in Houston when I was the manager. And I called Stromy because at this point I had been off the field for a number of years, and I wanted to make sure that I was going into the interview with a good understanding of staff-wise who I would want to be a part of this staff. And Brent Strom, without hesitation, he had Barry Enright as one of his assistant pitching coaches in Arizona. They had a great pitching staff. Stromy goes, he said, there's a young man that I want to recommend, Bo. And I said, who was that? He said, Barry Enright. I said, I know Barry. So I shared with him. I actually was the Arizona Diamondbacks third base coach when Barry made his debut. I've known him a long time. So from that conversation, I went into the interview with a strong recommendation that if I was to be hired as the manager, that Barry Enright would be the pitching coach. That conversation obviously led to more traction for Barry. He ends up being hired as the pitching coach, even though Ron Washington ended up getting the job. Ron Washington interviewed Barry. He came back with the same sentiments, like, man, this guy is sharp. So it's like life coming full circle. You kind of see the maturation of this person's development and career, and then having the opportunity for 2 years to sit and watch him work with a young pitching staff that also had some veterans as well. His ability to communicate with both, his ability to communicate with the front office and understanding all of the analytics and things that come into play as it relates to helping players put together game plans. I've watched him execute all of that and could not be happier for him and his family to have this opportunity to be the pitching coach at one of the best college programs in the country.
Bo, recently we've seen a little bit more of that, like major league coaches going to the college ranks. Talk about what you think that transition might be like. For a guy like Barry, he's still young enough that I think he can not only relate to the older player in the major leagues, but young enough to also be able to relate to 18, 19, 20-year-olds.
Yes, I think when you start to look at just this whole transition with Major League Baseball, once they reduce the number of teams in the minor leagues, I've said this over the course of the last few years, college baseball, especially SEC, big-time Division I college baseball, it's almost like the new minor leagues. But players are getting their development in college. It used to be you get drafted and now your organization will develop you. Colleges have now realized that the development is actually happening in college. That's why players are getting drafted, and within 2 years, they're in the big leagues. Well, they're not having to go to rookie ball and A ball. They're coming out of college and they're going straight to Double A. So getting coaches like a Barry Enright that has that experience of what it is to prepare for a major league season, and now you're bringing that into your collegiate, program, you're just better preparing your players for what it is to come.
Talking to Bo Porter here on TexAgs Live. Talk to me a little bit, if you can, about his ability to teach, develop, his relationship building, maybe how he is as a tactician.
I think everything that you just said, those are probably his strongest suits. When you look at the Anaheim Angels and kind of where he came in, you had the Tyler Andersons, which was a veteran in which he became an all-star. You had the Sorianos who started in the bullpen and transitioned into a starting pitcher. And I was able to witness and watch Barry work with a Reed Detmers, who was a starter his first few years. We moved him to the closer role, or I would say closer, but Jansen was the closer, but he pitched the 8th inning and was almost like a second closer. I watched Barry help him with that transition from a starter into being an elite back-end reliever. Watched him with Soriano take him from a long reliever to a starting pitcher who may make the All-Star team this year. You get Tyler Anderson, who comes in. He's a crafty lefty that have to use pitch sequencing to really induce weak contact. When you look at those 3 scenarios, it speaks to Barry's ability to help all pitchers depending on what they have in their arsenal. He's not just one-dimensional cookie cutter in a box. He's going to take a player's assets and go, this is how you best use your arsenal in order to get through a lineup.
Bo, this may be a question you might not be able to answer, but I'm just curious, from a recruiting perspective, that's still the lifeblood of a baseball program. How's it going to be when he sits in a living room with a young man, and his ability to sell his vision in the program Texas A&M is and will become?
Well, I think whenever someone is speaking to you, when you're looking across the table and you can check all the boxes of this person has been everywhere I would like to go, I think that immediately opens up the conversation, and now the receiver of that information is more intrigued. Barry Enright, he's been there. He's been a college pitcher. He's pitched in the major leagues. He's coached in the major leagues. He checks all the boxes. If you are a young man and you're a family and Barry Enright walks into your living room to convince you that, A, you should send your son to Texas A&M, I don't see a parent having any recourse of, am I sending my kid to the right place? And he's a family man. When you look at core values, and I'm really big on core values, Barry Enright possesses all the core values that you would look for in a mentor, and a coach, and a leader of young men. And I called him right away, and I texted him right away, and I told him, I said, with our kids that we have here at Bo Porter Academy, I said, we're going to start a pipeline to Texas A&M because, A, he know what he's going to get from any of the scholar athletes that graduate from Bo Porter Academy. And what I know, and I can say to our parents, I know who I'm sending you to. So it's a great hire. And as I said before, I could not be more excited for Barry Enright and Texas A&M.
Well, I want to ask you another thing on Barry, and this is maybe just a pitching coach question overall. There's one thing to develop and recruit, but you still got to get the guys, right? So how important is it not only the ability to develop, but just A&M had some good pitchers last year, but they need some dudes. And how important is having those kind of arms to the long-term success of a program?
Well, when you look at pitching, it's like a starting quarterback in football. It's really hard to win if you don't have pitching. That's why whether it's Texas A&M, whether it's the major leagues, your most important hire if you are a manager or head coach is your pitching coach. And when you think about that group of men, the leader of those men is going to greatly determine the success of your ball club, because everything is not going to go well. So you're going to have someone that, from a psychology standpoint, he's going to have to be able to help them through adversity, help them understand, a lot of these kids that are coming to Texas A&M, if you look at their high school careers, they probably just blew through their high school, lineups. Now, all of a sudden, you're now facing lineups that are 7-8 deep, and they're probably going to get hit around a little bit. So I believe that Barry has all of the characteristics to help those young men through those different challenges. I also think that, and this is, I think, what separates, really good coaches from an average coach, is the ability to take that fringe player and and give them what they need to be an elite player. Take that elite player that, for whatever reason, the inconsistency is there, and you're able to unlock something to give him the consistency that allows him to be an elite player on a more consistent basis. And I believe Barry Enright has the ability to do all of those things.
Bo, before we let you go, just kind of catch me up on what's going on in your world. I know you're still running the Bo Porter Academy. Just kind of fill us in on what's going on.
Yeah, so I'm also working with the commissioner's office, part of the on-field staff. So it's everything that happens within our game. I visit with each ball club throughout the course of the year, report, back to Michael Hill and the commissioner's office. It's all about how can we make our game better. I'm still entrenched into the day-to-day of Major League Baseball. But Bo Porter Academy has garnished a lot of my attention since I've decided to leave the field. And I am really excited about the recruiting class that we have coming in and excited about the development of all of these kids here at the Academy.
Bo, you've done a lot since your time at the Astros, but when you look back at your time at the Astros and some of the relationships you built and some of the young men that played for you, just what do you think back to, I should say?
Those are all great memories. Matter of fact, I'll see AJ Hinch today because the Tigers are in town, and I'll go down to the ballpark today for one of my club visits and have an opportunity to sit down with him. I think back on the 2012 when you talk about that interview. It was the turning point for the Astros. It was a complete teardown rebuild, and I felt like we did it the right way. We didn't sit on the fence of trying to compete at a point in where the organization was not ready to compete. And when you tear it down and you go through those hard years, it allows you to have this I would say window of success that the Astros have been able to enjoy. It's because of the distinct decision that was made by Jim Crane and Jeff Luhnow to do it the right way. We rebuilt it the right way, and the benefits have obviously become history.
Do you remember the first time you saw Jose Altuve?
Yes, and it's, people ask me about Altuve a lot, and I tell people all the time, to me, he's a Hall of Famer. I'll go ahead and I'll put that out there. But what makes him a Hall of Famer is this man's work ethic. And behind the scenes, like, everyone gets to see all the great moments. They don't realize this man is at the ballpark at 12 o'clock every day. He's in the cage. He's in the video room. He's the constant professional. He's a great teammate. The effort, it's going to be second to none. And his desire to not only win, but to see his teammates win is what truly separates him from I would say, the superstar player that everyone gets to witness every day. Behind the scenes, he's a superstar person.
Well, Bo, you're always very kind to me when I covered you with the Astros. I really appreciate you spending a few minutes with us today, and I hope to talk to you again down the road and maybe after the Aggies win a national championship.
That would be great. I have one more thing I have to share.
Yes, sir.
Do not let Barry Enright get anyone to believe that they should get on a golf course with him. It's a trap. Don't fall for the trap. And if he wanted to get on the PGA, he could. He's that good.
Okay. So yes. Don't fall for the trap.
Don't fall for the trap. He's that good.
Well, this is fantastic, man. Thanks again for your time. I hope to talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bo Porter on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. So we've learned, do not play golf with Barry Enright. But I'm reading some of the comments on the YouTube page and on the text line. People are fired up about the pitching hire. And look, let's not, I'm going to make sure we give this the value it deserves. A&M had a pitching deficiency for multiple reasons, and they've upgraded that position significantly. They have absolutely significantly upgraded that position. And now with young blood who understands the modern era of baseball, who, according to Bo Porter, will sit in a living room, share the values that all Texas A&M's about, that he shares those same values. I think this is for lack of a better term, a home run hire. And Nick, do you agree? Like after hearing Bo Porter talk, like I was already kind of in, but like it's like the Bucky McMillan. Remember when they hired Bucky? We were excited about it, right? We had read a lot, but the more we started talking to people behind the scenes when A&M got Bucky, you're like, wait, this guy's going to be a grand slam.
That's a great point. Yeah, if you talk to people in the industry, and again, someone who's done it on the big league level, on the biggest stage in baseball, that's definitely something to be excited about.
All right, let's do this. Let's hit a break. And on the other side, we'll talk to Nick Roush from KSR, get his thoughts on all things Kentucky football. A&M does play Kentucky early in the season, and also some other SEC storylines. Right now, we're talking about the Association of Former Students. A&M's club coaches' nights are in full swing all around the state. You know, they've already done Dallas, San Antonio, and right here in the Brazos County. The event is organized by local A&M clubs and supported by the Association of Former Students. And they raise hundreds of thousands of dollars in academic scholarships for Aggies, and each year is growing annually. Coaches like Mike Elko, Jamie Morrison, Bucky McMillan will be the guest of honors at most of these events, and attendees will hear the latest news on the upcoming season while enjoying food, silent auction, and live auctions, and yell leaders, and much, much more. The event began in May and concludes on July 20th in Houston. Here's some of the upcoming events. You've got Tuesday, July the 14th, the Capital City A&M Club in Austin. You've got Wednesday, July 15th, Fort Worth Tarrant County A&M Club, and then on Monday, July 20th, the Houston A&M Club. To purchase tickets or for more information online, go to tx.ag/coachesnight. That is tx.ag/coachesnight. We are back here on TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Nick Roush says he sees the link, so he should be joining the show here momentarily. We'll talk to him about some Kentucky football. They went heavy in the portal. And it goes back to one of the conversations we were having earlier with Chad Withrow of like how difficult it is sometimes to evaluate a team based on all the changes. Like I have read a lot of good stuff about Arizona State this year. How is that possible? Like I was looking through some of the numbers. Offensive, what was it? I have the stat earlier. Their offensive efficiency is like in the top 10. I'm like, how is that possible when they got a completely new wide receiver room and a new quarterback? So again, I think about that. I think about Kentucky going so deep into the portal and what they could look like, and also with a brand new head coaching staff. So I'm interested to hear what Nick Roush has to say all about it, and because A&M plays them early, and I think for A&M it's probably a good thing to play them early like it is to play LSU early. Let's go straight to the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. Nick Roush joining us from KSR. What's up, Nick? How you been, buddy?
How we doing, David? Pleasure to be back, and pleasure to return back to College Station. It's been a while. You all still haven't made the trip up to Lexington.
Never.
Is that ever going to happen?
I mean, apparently with this new SEC scheduling format with the 9 games, it looks like it's going to happen in a couple years. But like, I haven't been there. I personally haven't been to Georgia, and I know Georgia hasn't been here. Like, come on already. Let's speed this up a tad bit.
It's going to be nice. It's going to be nice. It was a great game in 18, although like ugly. There was no offense, and I admittedly am a little worried about Kentucky's offense whenever they travel to College Station, because there's a lot of question marks about the playmakers. I obviously am excited about the play callers, the offensive scheme that's coming into Lexington. Mark Stoops, not his strong suit during his tenure at Kentucky, and Will Stein, he put up points pretty much with whoever he had in his offense at Oregon. And Kenny Minchie, he seems to check all the right boxes, but there are some question marks just of like, okay, well, I like the offensive line. I like the quarterback. I like the tight ends too, but are the receivers, are the running backs, are those playmakers, are they going to be difference makers that can turn 4-yard gains into 10-yard gains or a 15-yard pass into a 50-yard touchdown, that sort of deal?
Nick, it's interesting because like what we love about the SEC is that every game matters, right? Like every single game matters. That being said, I'm curious what you think Kentucky would do in a different conference. Even though we don't know enough about what this team is going to be under the new identity, like it does feel like from a talent perspective, how they went so deep into the portal, like this team could compete this year in a different conference, but in the SEC, how good can they be?
Oh, yeah, especially when it comes to the trenches. There was a run where, I want to say it was like 19 to 23 or something like that, where Kentucky would they would probably win 7 SEC. They would win 7 games, and then they'd go play an ACC team in the bowl game, and they would just whip their ass in the trenches, right? Like, and that's kind of the vibe I get from this team, is that they are going to be really good in the trenches, like middle to above average of the pack in the SEC, and that's the best in the country, right? Like, if you step out elsewhere, you can take care of business, but here in the SEC, where not only are they going to A&M, but they host Bama, they host LSU. It's not going to be easy, especially with the 9-game schedule. And then their 10th game is Louisville every year. And so, they're a preseason top 25 team by a lot of standards. So, it's going to be challenging in Will Stein's first year, but at least he did the right things early to make sure that they can compete at the line of scrimmage. Because if you don't have that to start, then you're kind of screwed from the jump.
Nick, I always think that when a program makes a change or any sport, they typically go opposite, right? Heavy defense with Mark Stoops. Now they're going deep into the Will Stein era. So first off, talk about how fans are, I'm sure they're embracing that big time because they got sick of not seeing scoring. That's A. And B, how difficult is it going to be to pick up this Will Stein offense?
So it is funny, especially because we all know Texas A&M's relationship with Mark Stoops. And instead, I think it ended out all right for you guys, but there was it was very similar there where you had the Jimbo offense, you're ready to change things up, and so you go with the defensive guy. And in Lexington last year, there were people chanting for John Summerall at various times in the stands last year, right? Because he's a former Kentucky linebacker. He's won everywhere he's went. But, I think the way things happened they happened for a reason, right? Stoops just had a chance to save his job, gets completely blown out the last 2 weeks of the season. They were going to keep him if he was willing to get one more win. Well, since they waited, Florida was already open. They went after Summerall. They got him quickly. But Stein was right there, and he was ready. He was eager. I think there was some back channels explored prior to this just in case. And then when they had to break glass in case of emergency, they went after him. And all in all, I think it's going to benefit both Florida and Kentucky because as much as I like John Summerall, there would have been very much this is Mark Stoops light. There's a lot of similarities between the two. They operate differently, kind of in the press and how they sort of were setting up their offenses. But Will Stein when I grew up, I'm used to Tim Couch and Gerald Lorenzen. This was the program that kind of gimmicked our way to having some success, but it was all about quarterback play. Well, Will Stein, he grew up watching those same Kentucky teams, living in the city of Louisville. His dad played at UK. So he gets Kentucky from that standpoint, but he also has sent some quarterbacks to the Heisman Trophy ceremony, right? And Joe Sloan at LSU, I know LSU fans weren't too happy with him a year ago, but they were pretty happy when he was coaching Jaden Daniels, and that catches quarterbacks' attention. Kentucky's got the number 2 passer in the 27 recruiting class, Jake Narrock, committed. They flipped Kenny Minchie from Nebraska, and the people at Notre Dame, they think they would have done just as good with Minchie starting last year as Carr. That quarterback competition went really down to the wire. So I think fans are going to be really excited. And the good news is that Kentucky already had a lot of similar structural things in place. They just didn't do it very efficiently or effectively. So I don't think the transition is going to be as hard. And I think they've got a really bright, smart kid at quarterback in Minchie who's accurate and a little bit more mobile than some expect. So I'm really excited to see what he does once the live reps start happening and the bullets start flying.
Nick, this is not just a new head coach and a new quarterback. This is a new everything. Talk to me about first off, the ability to go in the portal and do as well as they did. And secondly, just it's new wide receivers, new offensive line. It just feels you need a name tag for everybody.
Yeah, and I think it's important, before I get to the newness, it is important that defensively they kept a lot of quality players. Ty Bryant was a safety that led the SEC in interceptions last year. They kept him. They kept Teron Nichols at corner. A couple of defensive linemen. Tavian Gadsden, he's going to be getting some preseason All-SEC love. So they did a good job of keeping sort of the right guys. Willie Rodriguez, I think, is going to have a big year at tight end on offense. But I think there was some real worry, the way that Stoops talked about their NIL situation, that Kentucky was feeding into the fears that other SEC schools say, hey, they're the basketball school. They aren't going to be able to spend that much money. Kentucky fans were a little worried. I think they just needed somebody who knew what they were doing. And Pat Biondo was an assistant GM out at Oregon, so they have a real general manager who knows how to do it at one of the biggest operations in the country at Oregon. So having the ability to, all right, here's our budget. It's probably not Oregon's budget, but it's still an SEC football budget. It's a good one, right? And so the difference is I think in the previous administration, if a player came back to him and said, I want more, well, they would just give it to him because they didn't want to lose him. Where this organization, this front office, they stick to a hard line. They know how to allocate resources. And so when they needed to take big swings, like for a guy like Lance Hurd, who started at left tackle at Tennessee, they took big swings. They took a big swing to get Kenny Minchey. But I think in some other positions, they trusted their evaluation. There's a wide receiver they got who was at Southern Utah. I did not know Southern Utah existed, David. I had never heard of that school before. But this Shane Carr kid looks legit, right? Like, he looks like a playmaker. And he got under-recruited because he just didn't do the camps. He ran track and played basketball, too. So, like, I think they might be onto something because of their front office and because SEC budget is good at – there's a lot of money in the banana stand. You can get Colton Price from Baylor, 3-year starter, to come play center and be one of the better centers in the SEC. So, I'm glad that they have the foundational pieces there that have a lot of experience. And then – they're taking a couple chances out there. Nick Anderson is a big roll of the dice. Like, we saw what he did when he was healthy in that 1 year with Dylan Gabriel at Oklahoma. But can you stay healthy? C.J. Baxter at Texas, right? Like, that guy could be awesome. Can he stay healthy? So there's you got to be a little risky when you're a first-year head coach at Kentucky. Sometimes when you play with fire, it can be an awesome firework. Sometimes you might get burned. So, I'm curious to see how it burns them in some instances and what makes them successful, makes their wheels spin in year one.
Mick, before I let you go, like, what is a successful season? Like, I'm thinking to myself, is it a 5-6 win season, which I know doesn't sound successful, but maybe where you steal a game that everybody doesn't like? There's so much newness, and I don't even know how to predict. I know CFN's got you guys at 4-8, or Kentucky at 4-8. I don't know if that's fair because, again, it's a completely different identity.
Well, and simply put, they were 5-7 a year ago, 4-8 the year prior. They should be better, right? Like, they should. And even though the record was bad, they were a yard away from beating Texas in overtime. Like, there have been some close calls. You think that they should improve. Some others should get worse. But really, what it all comes down to is proof of concept, right? Like, is this offense look more fun? Are they able to pull that off? Can they get 1 or 2 big wins? I think going to Kyle Field and playing a playoff team that has a bunch of guys coming back in week 3, not ideal to pull off an upset. But Alabama in week 2, I mean, that's going to be a first-time starting quarterback, young guy, no matter who it is, if it's Austin Mack or Keelan Russell, they should be ripe for the pickings. You have Florida coming in November. There's some opportunities in November with Florida, Louisville, Tennessee, right? Like, they might, who knows what they're going to be this year. I mean, Chaz Coleman, their superstar from the portal, hasn't even shown up to work out. So, like, you can have opportunities to get some big wins in November and get that belief. That's sort of like, okay, I think we might have something here. A little bit of that fake late season juice to where even if they don't get to 6 wins, that you can sell a vision for the future and then really get this thing rocking and rolling with a much more manageable schedule in 2027.
Nick, great stuff, man. We'll see you here in a month in Tampa.
Oh, man. It'll be here before you know it. I'm fired up. Can't wait.
Appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
See you.
Nick Roush there on the Buffy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. You can check out his great work at KSR. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with one final segment for the program. It's TexAgs Live. hey, everybody, we got 3 minutes left, and then I'm taking a day off. Where am I going to be tomorrow?
I don't know. Where are you going to be?
Just you got to take a guess.
Oh, yeah, the World Cup.
That's right. Portugal. I'm going to go watch CR7 tomorrow at NRG Stadium. Well, I've never watched, so huge Real Madrid fan, huge international soccer fan. I've never watched Ronaldo play in person. I've watched Madrid play, but not when he was there. So tomorrow, and my kids are all huge Ronaldo fans, so we're going to go watch them play in probably his last World Cup. What is he, 41? So it's probably his last World Cup.
I'm so jealous. I played soccer for 10 years. I thought I was going to do that in college instead of volleyball, but
what club did you play
switched. In Dallas, I was at Liverpool when I was young, and then I was at FC Dallas.
FC Dallas,
in my later years. So yeah, but I was a huge Ronaldo fan.
Well, as you should be. Nick Savage, huge World Cup fan. He's got the USA in his Luke Evangelist World Cup
Luke
draft.
has been adding up the scores, and guess who's in first place?
Nick Savage.
Yeah, noted soccer expert.
How does it work again?
I don't know. If you win, you get like 6 points. If your team loses, Reese says 3 points for a win, 1 for a draw, 0 for a loss. So my teams were the U.S., Ivory Coast, and Haiti. So I got 2 wins and a loss.
So I am curious. So I like soccer, and whenever I bring it up on the air, people get mad, right? They do. They just get really mad. Like, oh, I'd rather watch paint dry. Really?
Okay,
have you done that
there's 2
before?
minutes left. It's okay.
Yeah, but people have actually said, I would rather watch paint dry. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, paint dry, it's fun. I get it, but like not that fun. But I'm curious for the non-soccer fan, and Nick is one of those. Are you paying it? Like, does it have a March Madness feel to it right now because it is in the United States? Are people watching? You don't think so?
Yeah. Well, so when I played soccer, I didn't really watch it.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't a huge soccer fan on the outside. I just played it, and yeah. So honestly, the World Cup right now is like so out of my. Like, I don't see much going on, to be completely honest.
I feel like I'm seeing it everywhere. All the commercials, Nick, are you paying attention or nah?
Yeah, I think it's a really cool event. And I'll watch the U.S. when they play, but...
U.S. look great.
Yeah, of course they did.
Who did they play?
Oh my gosh, don't tell me.
I'm not going to tell you.
Paraguay.
Somebody told you, though.
Yeah, they did. Paraguay.
That
was my attempt to make it Italian.
All right. That's going to do it for the show. Look, I'm going to be very honest with you guys. I don't know who's hosting tomorrow. Nick thought he was hosting. I think Bronny told me he was hosting. I don't know who's hosting tomorrow. It'll be somebody who talks. That's what I can tell you. Somebody who talks, and they'll probably talk about A&M. I'm assuming that's going to be the show tomorrow. I think it's Bronny because he said it was Bronny, but I thought he told me he couldn't. So it could be Nick. Who knows? Maybe Richard comes back in. It's a disaster here at TexAgs during the summer. Appreciate everybody watching and listening. Tomorrow on the show, somebody, and then I'll be back on Thursday. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.